everyone. This is the Blabber Games team minus one person, Jeremy, who is a flake, who has a baby and a family and a life. But yeah, no, we just want to welcome you to this team discussion about these cards. Why don't we start with introducing everyone on the team so the audience can get to know our voices? Blake, start us off.
Yeah, my name's Blake. I am the initial creator of Heist, and it's a bit of my child, my baby, is I've taken it from the initial stages to where it is now. And along the lines, I've had all of these wonderful friends and people helping me along the way to get it up and going, play testing, rules changing, and everything. And so I'm really glad and grateful to have them on there, but that's kind of where I fit into this team. I started it as a really stupid idea, and then these guys helped me get it to actually looking nice and being playable. So, yeah.
Awesome. Kaylin, take it away.
I'm Kalen. I focus on the marketing and just doing everything else that's needed. We're all just working away to make this thing happen. So we appreciate everybody's support and excited for the future.
Awesome. Riley.
I'm Riley Bateman. I manage finances for Blabu Games. Just the moment I started playing this game with Blake, I could see that this would be something really fun, and we just wanted to help make it so that lots of other people could experience it and fall in love with it like we did.
Cool. Zach?
I'm Zachariah. I'm in charge of distribution and contract management for that. Me and Blake have been friends for years, and our whole friend group loves board games. And when we had a chance to kind of have a go at their brainchild, we all fell in love with it and decided we needed to share it with more people.
Yep. And then there's me, who is the other Zach, the inferior Zach, if you will. I am the project manager, and some of the things I've done. The reality is, we have our titles, but each of us has had, being a small group, our hands in other aspects of it, including development, artwork, and stuff like that. So, though we have our titles, it's been more or less a group effort on every single aspect of this game.
I think everybody's touched like everything.
Yeah.
We've really been working together on this. Yeah.
So really, the titles are just more of a formality, and but yeah, we're very excited for this game. Excited to get it to everyone's hands. We love it. We keep playing it. So, clearly we love it. Yeah.
Yeah. We're also missing Jeremy. Zach mentioned he's taking care of family and other matters, but Jeremy's been also very instrumental in helping us get this started, and we're sad he's not here to be a part of this discussion, but just wanted to shout him out. So
We probably don't have enough time tonight to get into how do you actually play Heist. If you want to look into that and you haven't somehow seen our socials or videos, definitely hop over onto our Facebook or the Kickstarter, and you can see how to actually play and how to set up the game. But today we're going to focus more specifically on the cards in the game.
Yeah. Specifically, what we're doing is we're going to rate the cards as a team. It's going to be a lively discussion. We'll go over what each card does, and then as a group decide where we rank it, either individually or just as a team, and just how much fun we have with it, or how evil we think it is, or what have you. We're just going to have a nice conversation about that.
yeah, I think we just go ahead and get this kicked right off and just start with our first card on here being Barricade.
Such a fun card.
So Barricade blocks one of the exits, and depending on how many people are playing, it can leave only one exit available, or it can just block like the closest one, or whichever exit.
I actually think this is one of the most critical cards in the game because it's the card that balances how long a game takes based off of the number of players.
There's also not any other card that has a rule specifically limiting the number of barricades, which I would argue puts it in the S tier range.
Yeah. And most of the other cards have interactions where they can cancel each other out, or it's the rock, paper, scissors thing. Barricade just kind of has its own thing. Like none of the other cards can deal with it or get rid of it. Once you play it, it's there for the rest of the game.
Yep.
I actually have a different opinion on Barricade. I think Barricade is kind of bad. I do. I think it's like one of the whenever I draw Barricade, there's one of it. Oh, it's like one of two things. Either it's like, oh, good, I needed this, or just like the absolute worst. Like it's just a dead card. It doesn't help you at all. So I personally, I think more often than not, I would actually put it in like the D or C tier.
Well, here, let me ask this question to the group. How are we rating these? We need to define the criteria in which we're rating these because we have usefulness, we have fun, we have, I don't know, just all kinds of different criteria. So
We're
how,
rating on opinion.
We're rating on
On
opinion, yeah.
overall.
At first,
Okay.
I thought about doing
rating.
something like always useful,
Yeah.
and then like
Mhm.
niche or whatever. But then I
Mhm.
realized it would just be funnier and more fun to kind of just throw it wherever
I think it's just
people think
general
it
use
goes.
case, like our personal favorites in the game.
That's why Barricade, no other card is a like trump everything kind of card.
Yeah.
If you're all the way across the board, just respawn in the total opposite corner, you still can trump whoever has the diamond and kick their butt and force them to come back and you have a chance to get the diamond. Every other card, if they have a certain mix of cards, it's counterable. That one's just the big baddie.
Yeah.
So
And see,
though that's true, I actually agree with Blake. I actually kind of agree. I agree with both sides of this argument here.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm saying. It's
let
like
me,
both. It's either bad or
yeah,
good. There's no
exactly.
in between. It
Because
does
here's
not
the
go
thing.
into the D tier or the B or A or C tier. It's either D or S. Like there's no in between.
Exactly, because here's the thing. It's one of those cards. And I love this about this game that there's always a give and a take. If you get this card in your hand is limited to 3 cards. That means it's taking up 1 slot of those 3 cards. You could use that 1 slot for any other action card that would be more helpful for you in that situation. But if you're carrying a barricade with you half of the game, then you are missing out on a lot of
Yeah.
opportunities. However, when you need it, you really need it.
So
I don't disagree with you, Zach. However, it's one of the cards that you can immediately get rid of, recycle, or use. It's not something you have to carry, but the moment you use it, it's useful regardless of how early or late in the game
Well,
you
no, no.
use it.
How do you recycle it?
I mean, maybe with the burner. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
he's
With
saying.
the
Yeah,
burner,
but that's
I mean,
it. Like you have to have a burner card to get rid of it.
Yeah.
if you want to, but like the moment you play it, even if you play it like the first time you get it, immediately out of the gate, the game just opened. Playing it immediately changes the entire dynamic of the board,
But that's the hard
regardless
thing
of
about
how
this
the board
too.
is set up or anything else.
If you have this and you play it, you could just be shooting yourself in the foot because
Exactly.
if you get like it's you can't play this card early. Or I mean you can,
S
but
tier
like it
does.
could hurt you.
That is
I
true.
would argue that being S tier does not mean that it is a pure advantage card.
No.
Whether or not it hurts you, it alters the entire board, which no other card does.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you don't. But if you play it early, I still think that's kind of a poor decision to make.
All right.
Didn't
When
say
there's
it
no
wasn't a
need
poor
to play
decision.
it.
I think we should move
Huh?
on past. I think we should move on past Barricade.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear from everybody's perspective. It's either really good or really bad, and nobody like necessarily disagrees with that.
It's because early game it kind of stinks. Late game it's unbeatable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll keep it in S tier. I could see people's opinion on the S tier ranking of this. Just side note, I feel like this could also very easily be the worst card.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's just leave
If
it
we're
there for
ranking
now.
other cards and we feel they're not equal in the S tier, we can bump it down
Yeah, okay.
later.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
moving on to Blown Away.
I have a hard time not putting this in D.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel very similar. I mean, at most I'd give it a C, but generally speaking, I feel a D tier card.
Agreed.
It's a really great card for like gotcha
once
when
in
you
a
thought
hot
you were
minute.
safe,
Yeah.
but I'd rather have any other card.
Yeah, I mean, there have been instances where that card has been pivotal to isolating me from the rest of the players while I had the diamond, because I would play smoke in front of a camera, get past the smoke, and then play the blown away card to get rid of that smoke, preventing everyone else from getting to me, which puts me in an advantageous state. But other than that, and playing it to blow away smoke that people are standing on so they get caught by a camera, it's kind of a hard card to find great uses for other than those small moments when you need it.
I think looking at all the other cards, I agree actually that this card is a D tier card, but I don't think that that means it's bad. I just think that it has less times that it's useful. But similar to the barricade, it does things that, or does something that none of the other cards do, which is just like making other spots not safe. Like it's another way to get people.
Well, and I think that, by the way, Blake, what you said right there, I don't think any of these cards we can call
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
just usefulness.
Yeah, I agree though. I agree. I think D tier is fair for this, for Blown Away. I think more times than not, you'd rather have something else. Okay, unless anyone has anything else to say, we'll move on to Blind Spot. What do we think about Blind Spot?
Riley, what do you think?
I think this is an easy A. You're able to just turn any camera that you want, which allows you to get through the museum as well as catching other people. The cameras are the main danger to the player, and it allows you to control any of them. So it might be S, but I definitely think it's A or above.
No, I'm actually in complete agreement with that. It's a card that has a lot of uses, either to get you safely to the diamond or to an exit, or to block other people off, or to catch them. It's just, it's got so many uses. That said, there have been many instances where it's actually been a detriment to have it in my hand, but not enough to bump it down to B tier, in my opinion. It's just a really powerful card.
I think the mark of the good card, the mark of a strong card in this game is, does it help you get to the diamond, and does it stop other people from getting to the diamond? And
Exactly.
Blind Spot fits both of those. It can turn a camera away from you and allow you to progress through the museum, or it can catch somebody or stop them from moving forward. So I agree. I think Blind Spot's an A tier.
Yeah. Zach and Kaylin, what about you guys?
Agreed.
Yep. The aggressive and defensive makes it A tier for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the move. Moving on to on the move.
Kaylin,
I'll
what do you
start with
think?
this. There's no way that this
Okay.
card isn't S tier. There's no way that
Yeah.
this card isn't S tier, and in my opinion, top of the S tier. There has never been a time where you see an on the move and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't have this on the move. Like, getting around the museum is important, one of the most important aspects of the game, and being able to avoid detection and get around things is just super strong. I think this card is
It,
just
it also gives you
top of yes.
essentially double turn of movement just from having a single card,
Yep.
because the lowest movement roll would be 3, and that also gives you 3. So you at minimum would get a total of 6 in one turn, which is a lot. So I agree with the high air ranking. I think especially when you have multiple of those, it just like compounds the value of having, if you have 2 on the moves, or heaven forbid for every other player 3 on the moves, you are very powerful.
I think we did the
You know,
math on this before. Having 3 on the moves, you can almost win in a single turn. It depends on the museum layout and where you start, but it gets you to the diamond and like halfway back.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I do think some of the expansion cards make me a little more excited than on the move if I draw those, like grapple and vents and even shove. I just love those, but I don't think you can go wrong drawing it on the move.
So I don't disagree, but I'm going to provide a slightly different perspective.
Okay.
There have been instances where I've drawn on the move and I am angry about it. Those moments when you're trapped and there's nothing you can do about it, on the move is useless while you have that. I'd rather have something like smoke or vents so I can escape that environment as opposed to on the move.
Yeah, like
Or
laser trap if you're laser trapped in.
exactly, or if I've caught up to the person with the diamond and I have on the move, I personally rather have a different card than on the move, so I can try to keep that person with me if I fail to steal the diamond. Whereas on the move, it's a great card to get me away after I steal the diamond. But if I keep failing on stealing the diamond, I don't want on the move. I want another card so that I stay confined with that individual.
Yeah, it's the aggressive and defensive standpoint too. On the move doesn't have the ability on both sides but it is really good on the one side.
Yep, that's it. I still think it's top of S tier because every point you guys made is absolutely correct.
Yeah, you're right. I said earlier when we were talking that you're always happy to see on the move, and that's not necessarily true. There are times when if you're trapped behind a laser or something, or have a long corridor, like too long to get past with the 3 extra movement before a camera will spot you, then it's not useful. But I think
Yeah.
like the high majority of the time, it's just very, very good.
Yeah. Riley, do you have any opinions?
I just think that like 90% of the time, people want it in their hand, and even if it might not help right then, if you're stuck, like keeping it in your hand allows you to then get out later and be able to catch back up into the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Especially if you get caught by a camera and are sent to an exit, it lets you get right back into the game.
Yep.
Zach, do you want to take us away with grapple? The very first of our
It's such a
expansion
mixed
cards.
bag. I'd have to say it's B. It's just such a mixed bag.
What do you mean by that?
It's either going to be great or it's not, and mostly it depends on either where you're at on the map or how the map lays out. If there aren't long stretches that you can use it, it's worthless. If you're not able to actually be in one of those long stretch areas, it's worthless. You get spotted by cameras if you go sliding past it. It's great. It literally gives you the most movement of any other card in the game, but it also could give you just no movement at all. So it's a mixed bag for me, and I'd have to say B.
Out of the other 2 extra cards we've added into the game, I was kind of thinking it was going to be the most broken, and the way we set it up is actually has made it, out of the 3, probably the worst in my mind. Because like Zach was saying, like you really can't get through any of the obstacles from the museum. It just helps you get through really long corridors where there's nothing to spot you or stop you.
Mm-hmm.
That being
Yeah.
said, Grapple has had some of the most crazy, funnest gameplay moments. I remember we were playing last week or just a couple weeks ago with Zach, and he grappled like we had just barricaded the closest exit, and he grappled to the entire opposite side of the wall. It was like an extra 7 movement that he got from grapple, just through a line of smokes and cameras, and then hopped over the wall and got out. Like Zach was saying, it does have its really good moments, like it's really, really good moments, but I think the majority of the time it is difficult to use.
I think this is just another example of the give and take that I appreciate in this game, where not everything is this ultra powerful. Everything comes at a cost, or a balance rather. In grapple, it has such high potential, but because of that high potential, it also has the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
Yep. There's almost no card sweeter when there's a big stretch of corridor.
Yep.
But
All
the museum is a chaotic place, and there's often not that long of stretches.
mm-hmm.
But those few games that you get the long stretches, this is a top tier card. But
Well, I'll be honest,
yeah.
even if it gives you an extra 2 spaces, I still think that's worth it as opposed to not being able to move at all.
Oh
But
yeah.
that said, I personally have never been able to use grapple effectively because either I don't draw it or when I do draw it, it's completely useless to me.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of butts, and that's why it's
Yep.
B.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
B is for
beef,
butts.
yeah, beef for butts.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, the number of times that you go sliding through a corridor and you're like, finally, I get to the other side of the map. I could get out. And then someone goes, you just walked right past a camera. You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
drop it.
Yeah.
Kaylin, do you want to take it away with Laser Trap? Where do you think Laser Trap fits?
Jeremy's favorite card. I would personally put Laser Trap in the B tier near Grapple.
Okay.
Probably below Grapple to me just because of the higher potential of Grapple. But Laser Trap has a really good balance, actually, of defensive and aggressive, which it doesn't seem at first take. But if you grab the diamond, if you steal the diamond, and you only have 1 movement left, you move 1 space away, and everybody's going to catch up to you next turn and just start stealing it right away. If you have a laser trap, you move that 1 movement, place a laser, it changes the whole thing. That being said, smoke is the most common card in the deck, and that's how you counter it. So most of the time, people are going to have a smoke and be able to quickly counter it.
Well, yeah, Previously, I probably would have put it down at a C tier due to having more of a defensive role, but we added in a new rule later that with another card, shove someone into a laser, adding in an offensive aspect to it. Because laser trap previously, and really it still is, the easiest defensive thing to get rid of because there's so many smokes in the game. But having the ability to push someone into it with the shove card adds in a whole nother layer that is a lot of fun. Riley, the last time we played this game, had an intense amount of fun doing that to all of us. It was infuriating, but it was also a lot of fun for him. So yeah, I think B tier is a good spot for it because again, it's a really easy card to get rid of, but every now and then, no one has smokes to get rid of it, and it acts as a great deterrence to everyone else.
I slightly disagree with the B placement. I think it should go into A tier, personally. I think that no other card minus Barricade, but even then, Barricade's niche stops people as much as Laser Trap does. And I think it's just the strongest halting or like defensive card out of any of them. And even though smoke is the most common card, it still makes them waste that on the laser trap rather than on like where a camera is going to be in the future. The reason why smoke is the most common is because there's like two things that you have to use it for to get past the museum, like the cameras and the lasers. So personally, I would put it into A tier. I can see we'll leave it in B tier, but
Can I chime in on that?
yeah,
So I was actually going to say that it should be like top B or bottom A. Like out of all the cards, if you don't have a barricade, any other card that you can play is not necessarily going to hinder someone from winning
yeah,
besides the laser trap. Like you can turn cameras and stuff, but they can turn the camera at the blind spot, they can put smokes down. But it really does help. Even if you're losing and at the very opposite corner of the map, you still have a chance to slow people down and interfere with it. Some arguments about how we've actually made it weaker in the recent rule change that I actually think makes it more fun and should be an A tier is the fact that you can push people through it, which makes it go away actually, but you as the player can choose to actually walk through it yourself, which sounds kind of weird because that kills you and sends you back to the spawn point.
oh, whoa, whoa, whoa!
But
Doesn't kill you. It's
well,
you
okay,
get
it makes
spotted.
You're a whole new character.
yeah.
You pick up a new color. Yep.
But it just makes the game a lot more fun than when Jeremy trapped all of us in one
Yeah.
corner besides him,
Yeah.
and you're just stuck there until someone picks up a smoke.
Yeah.
So I think it's the funness. It just is a better card now, and it's more fun to play with.
Yeah, upper high end of B tier. I like that.
I think that's a good compromise between what
Yeah.
most of us said.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think it should go A tier, but we'll keep it top of B.
We'll compromise. Yeah.
All right, burner. Okay, this is so divisive between us. I think that this card is like S or A tier. Top of S tier or A tier, probably. I think that this card is just really, really good. I know with On the Move, we were saying that there's never a bad time for this. If you only have the burner, it's bad. But other than that, being able to cycle your bad cards and get into some good cards or look for more options, I just think it is really, really strong. There was a time when it was you would play the burner and then draw two cards and then discard a card, which was just absolutely broken. That was really, really strong. It's much more balanced now, but I still think that this is really good. Previous version of burner was like top of S tier. The fact that you have to discard first makes it balanced, and I just think A tier.
Maybe. My thought, though, it used to be like the old rule that you mentioned. I think it used to be. And of much debate in the rule book was the action that you can, instead of taking your turn, discard all three cards and draw all three new cards.
Yeah.
I was on the dissenting side of that rule because that to me drastically lowers the effectiveness of burner. Because now I can move, I can take my full turn. I could even spend all three of my cards, which is pretty powerful. I have to skip my next turn basically to draw new three cards, but I don't have to wait for a burner. And the only reason you're using a burner is because you know that other cards are better, because you're trying to get other cards.
That's part of my argument for why I actually hate the burner in a lot of ways. But I would argue that because we've ranked all of the other cards really nicely, so I think it's pretty unusual for you to be at a point where you want to use the burner and not just play what you have.
Being
I
excited to get burner means you would have been more excited to get something else.
Yes, that is true. I agree with that. The burner doesn't advance the board state, but we've mentioned with all of these cards, every single one of these cards, that there's a time when you don't want it and a time when you really do want it, right? And the burner kind of gets rid of the fact that, like, it negates the I don't want this card right now effect. And it can do that for any of the two cards you have in your hand. It gets worse the less cards you have. So if you just draw the burner, it's pretty much a dead card. But if you have three cards in your hand, it basically lets you choose, like, okay, this isn't helping me right now. Let's get something else.
Yeah, I think this one very much is kind of that mixed bag kind of card. I actually disagree with the perspective that the drawing three cards for your entire turn takes away from the value of the burner, because that comes at a cost of losing a turn, and every single turn you have is absolutely vital to winning the game. Whereas the burner, the cards you draw, you can play on that turn, which is a powerful component of the burner. That said, every time I've played with people, the card they have the most regret drawing is the burner card. So I actually see both sides of this.
So
Generally speaking, in card games, the more you're able to draw, the better your deck is. The ability to draw and get the cards you need in any card game is considered a good thing, even if you have to sacrifice something for that. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, you sacrifice 1,000 life points to draw two cards. That's worth it because going through your deck means you're more likely to get the cards you need. And that's what Blake is saying right here is you don't have the cards you need right now. Well, play burner and you can get the cards that you need right now. That is a critical part of winning this game. So to me, it could either be an A tier or personally C tier.
okay, but can we agree that the fact that it's a Nokia phone makes this an A or S
Yeah.
tier? Okay.
I think
Okay.
it's definitely below blind spot
That
though in the A
That
tier.
is literally like that is the only argument I will accept for it not being at C tier.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so
like it beneath laser trap.
beneath
That's where
laser
I was
trap.
thinking.
Personally,
Okay, we could put it there. I still think it's A tier, but I'm clearly outranked here, so that's okay.
I'm just happy that we're starting to get the semblance of a normal curve.
Yeah.
yep.
I mean, every time I watch a tier list video, the thing that ticks me off the most is how the A and S tier are bloated, and then D and C tier have nothing in them, or B tier. It's just ridiculous.
Okay,
True.
Haynes, do you want to take it away with smoke? Yeah. No.
I'm gonna go with C.
See.
There's so many of them that it really is a filler in a lot of ways. Yes, it gets rid of and affects the board greatly, both from laser trap and from cameras. However, it's very easily a clutter card. Like the first couple times you draw it, it's great. But it quickly becomes like, okay, now there's so much smoke on the board. I don't really need to use this anymore. I might as well burner it away.
I was
No,
gonna
go
say
on,
it's like
Rodrigo.
the bread and butter of the game. It is able to get you through both cameras and laser traps. In so many ways, it's just a broken card because it nullifies so much on the board.
So here's an interesting perspective then. You're right, Riley, but you know what else it does? It helps your opponents.
That is very true.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. That's where I think it's closer to blind spot to me because it helps in every way, but it also does help your opponent. I don't know. It's a toss up for me. Maybe bottom of B tier. I could even see it in C actually for the helping your opponent's part because this is why blown away is good because then you can make your own path and then immediately blow it out from everybody else. But the fact that it doesn't only help you, I'm just selfish when I'm the one that wants the diamond.
Is that this game is an inherently selfish game.
I
Yeah.
think Smoke is the most B tier, mid tier card out of all of them. I think it should go literally in the middle of B tier. Like Zach was saying, it is the most common card. I won't hold that against it. That isn't its fault. Smoke itself is really good. It helps with blind spots, helps with laser
Well,
traps, allows you to get across the map.
And it helps all your enemies do the same.
Yeah, and it
Yep.
helps all your enemies do the same. But I think it's just right in the middle of B tier. It's both good and bad, right at the middle, the middle point. Yeah.
I feel bad for C tier right now because it's getting absolutely no love. Personally, I actually agree with Zach that it belongs in C tier. Not that it's a bad card, because I actually think it's a phenomenal card, but just the mere fact that it also helps your opponents.
I don't think being in C tier is a bad thing. As you said earlier, it's the bread and butter of the game. It's literally the base of the game. And it's just that it's a basic card.
Yeah.
And that's no shade either way. It's just a basic card. So I'd say C.
I just
You
feel
need
like
the
grapple
commons,
should
okay?
be.
You need the commons
Yeah.
in a board game. The commons and uncommons and rares,
Yeah.
okay?
You
It's
have
just
to
a
have your
common.
Caterpies.
Yeah.
I feel like smoke should be before grapple because grapple's more flashy than smoke, but the use cases are so small. I feel like grapple should be in C and then smoke should be in B, but that's just
Or we
my
could
opinion.
renegotiate
Do we
that
want
by
to
all
change
means.
that?
Yeah.
We can move this down. I agree with that.
I like it like that. Both in C, the upside of grapple is super high, but
Yeah.
the rareness of it being upside, where smoke is always at least a decent use. Like you're never bummed to use a smoke because at least you can use it and it's valuable in some
Yeah.
way.
That's true. Moving on. Shove.
This is my favorite card, personally.
Okay, Caleb, where do you think it goes? It's your favorite.
It's just so good for so many things, and it's essentially an ultimate thief card because all you need is to mix it with literally anything else, and you make people drop the diamond, and then you just pick it up. And it's really mean, which is always fun to just crush the spirit of your enemies. Even
Here's
if
a
they're
fun-
one step away, you just catch up, shove them, and it's back to square one.
Do we
I think it's
A
a
or
S
S?
tier to me. I think high A. I think S is close. Like, it's just so fun and in so many ways.
So here's a fun fact before we continue with this discussion. We had quite the debate about what to name this card. It was between push and shove.
Yep.
Ultimately, we decided on shove because it sounds meaner. It sounds more violent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious, does anyone disagree with Kaylin's take?
the one thing I'll say is the range is a downside where you have to catch all the way up to them, where
Yeah.
like a laser trap, you could throw it from way across the map, but it's so fun and just satisfying every time I use it.
I do agree with that. On a fun aspect, does he go into A or S? Probably S tier. I think Shove is one of the most fun cards to play. And we don't have necessarily criteria for this. We're not just ranking based off of how good it is. We're just ranking it off, ranking these at no particular way, really. So yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Yeah, if we're doing usefulness, it definitely drops down because there's actually only, I think, 2 cards in the whole game that you have to be on the same spot as someone else. Everything else you can play at any point in the game to affect things in the museum. But yeah.
Yep.
Being on the same spot does lower it a little, but it's not a rare occurrence that you're on the same spot with someone, especially since you can play a card any point during your movement. So if you're walking past someone, even you can just like step one and then shove that person straight into a laser just because, and then continue on your way.
Yeah.
Or straight out in front of a camera, even.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of fun things with it.
Yeah. Like a month ago, I had that one game where I had 3 of these in my hand, and I was all the way across the museum, and I just was like drooling. I was so excited to use them, but they just were not helping me whatsoever. So I'm always happy to see it, besides that one case where I have no other cards and can't do anything.
Well, and that's the thing, like for me, not being able to use it has been a more common occurrence than me being able to use it effectively. Because the thing about shove is, I agree with you, it is a hilariously fun card to play. And I think it elevates the game to a whole new level. But the limitation of having to be on the same space has been a massive detractor for me in using it because I mean, there are those cases where Riley gets to use it 3 times in a row against different individuals to get rid of them. But that requires other factors to be in place. Like, is there a camera that you're standing in front of? Or is there a laser trap that you can place or that is placed in front of you to use it most effectively? So, to get the most out of Shove, it's reliant on other factors. Whereas many of these other
Yeah.
cards, they're not reliant on other factors. And then, of course, you also have to be on the same space as someone else. So for me, Shove is actually either low B or high C.
So fun.
I do
It
agree
is
with
fun.
it going
I'm
into
not
the
I'm
B
not
tier.
disagreeing with that. I think it's a phenomenally fun card, but I don't get to use it that often.
I think
Okay,
Zach is
he's
just trying to keep the curve. That's all he's caring. He's like arguing whatever it takes to get it to get the curve to.
I mean that is true that I would do that, but I also I agree with what I just said about
Yeah,
Shove.
I do. I agree
I hear
too.
it. I hear those arguments. It doesn't take away from the fact of it being still the funnest, my favorite card, but
Yeah.
yeah, that is valid.
Okay. All right. Ultimate Thief. I will break this one. I'll start with this one. Despite being the namesake and one of the first cards and what was supposed to be the trump card, I actually think that this is like a C or D tier card. For the same reason of Shove, it's only useful when you're on them, and not only that, it's only useful if you're on them and they have the diamond. It's like 2 conditionals to be able to play it. When you need it, when someone has the diamond and you're on the space of it, obviously it's the best card in the game. Better than Barricade, guaranteeing yourself, better than all the move, guaranteeing yourself the diamond and having other people basically have to roll because you've already used one of the 2 Ultimate Thieves. It's the best. But I think most of the time, it's just a completely dead card in D.
I agree for the same reasons as Barricade. Mind you, worse than Barricade because if you can't play it, it's taking up space in your hand, and the only way to get rid of it is through a burner or by using your turn to replace your entire hand. Otherwise, you're stuck with that card. That would be better if it were another card. It's literally just a useless card in your hand if you can't use it.
And you get a 25% chance for free.
Yeah.
So it's really only increasing your percentage 75%, which is good. I want that when I don't have the diamond and I'm near the person with the diamond, but
Yeah.
that's only a small portion of the game that those things all line up. So I agree.
I think it's better than Blown Away. And like I said, this card just depends. It's very swingy. It's either the best or the worst, and there's no in between.
Well, it's one of those cards that can completely transform the game, not because of how the board looks, but because of who possesses the diamond. And really, that's the goal. If you hold the diamond, even if you're surrounded by all the other players who can potentially steal the diamond, you are in an advantageous state. If you can't move anywhere and you hold the diamond, you're still into the advantage. It is better to hold the diamond than to be next to someone holding the diamond with the potential to steal the diamond. Always.
Yeah.
I will say it's just super sweet when you go up and you try to steal from someone, you fail, and then you just smack that on the table. It feels really good. It's also just when you have the diamond and you have the Ultimate Thief,
Yeah.
that power, like having both of those together, there's 2 in the game, and if one maybe hasn't already been played, or you're holding that one, you know there's only one other in the
Yep.
game.
Somebody steals it from you, you steal it right back.
We had that really fun experience last time we played where I stole it using Ultimate Thief from Riley, and right after he stole it from me using Ultimate Thief, and then he shoved me into a laser trap.
And you know
You're
for
not
the rest.
you're not bitter at all.
No, not bitter. I don't have PTSD from that.
Yeah. And after that, you know that everybody's going to be rolling. You know, it's just a chance to get it from you. And
Yep.
okay.
I will say the one big piece with that card is that I don't know if any other card, just by its sheer existence, it could be at the bottom of the deck, nobody even has it, but you play the game differently because that exists.
Yep.
When you have the diamond, you have to act like everybody has one just because there's that possibility.
Yep. Okay, our last card here, Vents, the card that is available only in the deluxe edition version. Who wants to start off with this one?
See, I'm torn on this one.
All right, Zach, what
I'm
do you
not.
think? Or Caitlin, what do you think? Yeah, where do you think it goes?
I think it's up there. I think A tier would be fair. Again, similar to Smoke, where it's like when you draw that card, you know you're going to use it and you know it's going to be useful basically every time. How useful? It could be a matter of jumping almost all the way around the board when you have a section of wall that you'd have to otherwise walk very far around, which is very good for offensive or defensive. It's good for running away or for getting there or all of the above. It can be one of the biggest game changing cards. And in the worst case scenario, it gets you a few spaces ahead, either toward freedom or toward the diamond.
I think it's S tier. I think it's up here with On the Move. I think it does a lot of the same things that On the Move does. It doesn't give you the direct 3-speed movement, but it does give you one guaranteed. It does get you around cameras. It prevents you from being followed in a lot of cases. Like, it can put distance between you, similar to what Laser Trap does. It does give you
Yeah.
increased movement, not just the one extra space, but like the spaces you'd have to go around the wall that you're going through, which at minimum is 2. So it does give you 3 movement speed, basically. It has the same effects as On the Move. As a matter of fact, I think personally that this card is just better than On the Move.
I honestly think there is not a single card that alters the state of gameplay more than that card.
Yeah.
I don't know, because here's the thing. Whenever I've had it in my hand, I never felt like it was a benefit to me.
You're crazy.
I've had
You're
it in my
playing
hand.
wrong.
No, I don't know. I don't know about that because yeah, it gives you a few extra spaces, which is nice, but for me, it hasn't been a game changer whenever I've played with it.
'Cause I kind of want to
Ye-
chime in with Zach and say like it's a really good card and it can break the game, but most of the time I haven't gotten to that spot of the wall where I want to hop over, or I'm hoping to go get the diamond, and then I'll hop over this one wall and I'll be way farther ahead than everyone else. Like I'm waiting for that perfect situation, so it kind of just sits there in my hand most of the time,
I
and
think
I've
that
only been able
that's
to really pull it off like once or twice.
I think that's the bait with the vents, though. You guys are holding on to this until the
I
moment is
never said I was
exactly
holding on to it
perfect.
though. Even
Well,
then, even if basically what I'm saying is like even if I play it and get a few extra movement, that to me doesn't feel all that great compared to something like On the Move.
well,
Or shove.
on the move
Yeah.
gets you. I'm confused with that statement because on the move gives you 3 movement speed and gets you around cameras. Vents most of the time does the exact same things. It'll give you
But
at
it's
least 3.
dependent on the placement of the walls,
Yeah.
whereas On the Move isn't.
Yeah,
I
Move.
would disagree. On the Move is very much based around where the walls are placed.
No, no, no,
Like,
no. On the Move is good no matter how the walls are placed.
yeah, that's true. It doesn't matter how the walls are placed. You get the 3
that's
movement.
fair,
Yeah.
but you get 3 movement regardless. But if I go through a wall, even if that wall is on a corner, that's 4 movement.
Yeah, the upside of vents is well above On the Move, upside wise. And downside wise, it's on par to me.
I see. I disagree with
Or very
that.
close.
Again, I disagree with that. I just even when I've played it for small movements, it's never felt better to me than On the Move. I think it's a fun card. I think it's a special card, and I love its inclusion, especially when you get to do plays like Zach did, where he grappled across the board, then used vents, then using the rest of his move to get to the exit all in one turn. That was awesome. But for just general gameplay, for me, it hasn't been a big game changer just for the general normal play.
Yeah, that was one iteration, but there's also been a couple of times where someone has used through the vents to get into an area that no one else could access.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know. To me, it's not an S tier.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it gets around lasers, it gets around cameras, it gives you extra movement, it puts distance between you and the enemies, like can make you basically able to get to a spot where no one else can get to. it's almost never a dead card because even if there is a laser trap somewhere or a camera somewhere, the thing that stops you from getting around those are usually the walls.
Again,
And
in the situation last time we played, I did have vents in my hand, and Riley and I were trapped by two laser traps that he pushed me through eventually, and then there were two walls. So we were trapped on one square. However, had I used vents, it would have put me in a corner that I couldn't get out of due to it being a dead end, as well as to get out of that corner, I was blocked by a camera. I know that's a very specific situation, but there are situations where vent has been in my hand and it was completely and totally useless.
yeah, but it's the same thing
Um,
with barricade and on the move
I
too.
know,
It
I know,
doesn't.
but all I'm
Yeah.
saying is that vents, every time I've had it, has not been a massive game changer, and I would have preferred other cards in my
Huh.
hand.
Huh. That's an interesting
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah, I still think it's S tier. It has downsides, yeah, but it's has the same downsides that on the move has, or like barricade has. Every once in a while, there's a weird museum or a place that you're in or a situation that you can't use it. But I
Yeah.
think overall, it's just a very, very strong card.
I'm just falling into the thing that Blake was talking about, where I have it in my hand and I just kind of fall to the bait of there's a better time to use this. If I just hold off a little bit more and hold on to it, I'll
Yeah,
be able to do 6 movement instead of 3 movement with this.
yeah. It's like let me get the diamond from them and then hop over the wall so that they can't follow me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that that's all of the cards. I think most people are okay with this being in S. I think Zach disagrees, but that's okay. But everyone else, what do you guys think?
I think it's below on the move still.
Below on the move. Okay. Well, quick thoughts or any wrap up thoughts on the cards? Anything that you guys think of seeing this graph that you would change?
But barricade in B tier,
You think so?
definitely to kind of
What
um,
about A tier? I think
no, no, no. B tier. Put it in B tier.
I think it goes right here. I think it goes A tier.
We said it's either D tier or S tier. It's
Okay,
on the extremes. Let's
we can put it.
compromise. Put it in B tier. Blake, you son of a gun. Give me my normal curve, or my as close to my normal curve.
If it's a debate between D and S, then B would be the logical place so that it can
Yeah.
keep the curve with barricade.
All right, we'll keep Zach happy. We'll keep the peace happy.
That's right.
Oh man. Well, that is our card tier list. You guys might disagree with us or agree with us. We'd be interested to see what everybody else thinks about it, playing through it. And for those of you who have not picked up a copy or are curious to learn more about the game, you can go to our website, www.blabugames.com. We have all of the information about the game there, as well as the shop and Heist is available for purchase right now. So just a shout out to that. Yeah.
Thanks guys for watching this video. We just wanted to thank all of our friends, family, supporters, everyone that's gotten us this far. We were just blown away by the Kickstarter and everyone that helped us with that, and then people that continue to ask us how the game's going, that are checking on the updates, and it just has meant a lot to us. So we want to thank you all for that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. Thanks for hanging out with us and going over the cards. It's fun. You guys should give it a try. Bye.
Well, I mean, by then.